who everyone talks about is our guy that we usually talk about for the S&P and stocks is Tom Lee.
Tom Lee, yeah, because he's been a bull for a long.
But the way he is a bull, he's on here and it'll be, Bitcoin will be at 70, and I go, well, what do you think? And he goes, well, I'm expecting 120 to 150.
Right, and you think he's nuts.
And you think he's absolutely crazy.
Right.
That's the way he was when it first went up to 20,000 years ago, and it dropped all the way to 3,000 or something. And he said, oh, I think we'll be back to 20 by the end of the year. And at one point before I got orange pilled, I got orange pilled pretty early, like 4, but it was at 8,000, went down to 4. But one of my purchases was at 4,000. So
wow.
Yes, so I did. I had some at 4,000.
Did you take profits?
I sold a lot at 55. I still have. Pretty much, I still have them. Fine, I'm good, and I love. It's tough to enter now. You can buy fractional shares.
But if you're a long-term believer,
if you're still a hodler, they've been buying all along. But I remember when he said it. Then I asked him. I said, "You're so good at why do you delve in this? It's so much easier for stocks, and you're so good at calling short-term trends on the S&P. Why risk your reputation on this? What at that point was such.
He probably didn't view it as a risk.
No,
he was
didn't.
So sure of his forecast. Crypto-related stocks, by the way, also.
Happy Bitcoin Friday, freaks. It's your host, Odell, here for another Citadel Dispatch, the interactive live show focused on actual Bitcoin and freedom tech discussion. That intro clip was the world's most popular Bitcoin podcast host, Joe Kernan from CNBC, I think admitting for the first time when he purchased, which was at $4,000. That was actually a more impressive entry than I expected out of him. He did say he took some profits at 55K, which he probably regrets that now. I would say selling Bitcoin for dollars is not taking profits. The opposite is taking profits. You want to store your profits in the hardest money known to man. He also gave a shout out to Tom Lee, who is pretty much a scammer, but still felt like an iconic moment to capture in Citadel Dispatch history. Anyway, freaks, we got another all-time high rip going. Bitcoin is in open water. Best part of Bitcoin is when we're in price discovery mode, or the best times in Bitcoin is when we're in price discovery mode. The best part of Bitcoin is the freedom it provides us all. I have a great rip conversation lined up today with a ride or die freak. Before I get there, just real quick, Dispatch as always is funded by our audience. It's funded by viewers like you with Bitcoin donations. We have no ads, no sponsors, no ref links, just you guys and me shooting the shit, broadcasting signal around the world. The easiest way to support the show, or the most fun way to support the show, is in our live chat with the Ride or Die Freaks, powered by Nostr. You can find all the relevant links at citadeldispatch.com. And then the second best way to support the show is through podcasting 2.0 apps like Fountain Podcast app. Our top zap from yesterday, you guys only had a day to give your comments and your zaps, was 500 sats from Johnny Stimulus. Let's try and get those zaps a little bit higher, freaks. I would appreciate it. But more importantly, I appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Available in every podcast app. Anyway, freaks. Long-winded intro. I've had a long day. I just got off a rabbit hole recap, slammed some food real quick, jumped on the live stream again. We have Pip here. As I said earlier, he's a ride or die freak, which I'm quite proud of. First time on the show. I did broadcast. We did a panel together in Riga that I did put in the feed. You might have listened to that. He's focused on web of trust. How's it going, Pip?
It's going great. I just came back from vacation, so I'm quite relaxed and excited to build.
Rejuvenated and ready to go?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said you're rejuvenated and ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, rejuvenated. Yes.
Okay, so first, I think a good place to start is what is a web of trust and why should people care?
Yeah. So, web of trust is a word that can have many meanings. So, yeah, it's important to define early. So, I define it in the context of Nostr. So, web of trust meaning that there is there exist a bunch of events, and those events, because are Nostr events, they are signed, and so it's possible to cryptographically verify that someone has made a certain claim or has taken a certain action, and out of that you can build out a graph in many different ways, focusing on different types of relationship. For example, one is the follow graph, that is mostly what people say when is mostly what they mean when they say web of trust of Nostr, is basically who follows who, and what can be derived from all of this data, basically. And yeah, my project, if I can continue in this route, is Vertex, and which is a web of trust as a service, meaning it's a service that you can use to analyze this web of trust, and or rather, we analyze all of this data, and then you can use the insights from this data to power features inside your application.
Okay, so let's just pull it back for a second. The way I like to describe web of trust is from a practical perspective, which is right now we're in the early stages of AI tools. But since the dawn of time, spam has been a problem on the internet. Spam, the definition of spam is not an objective definition, despite what people realize. It's more of a subjective definition. And what is spam? Spam is something that you didn't actually want to see, that you see. So one man's spam is not another man's spam. Sometimes some people think there's something of value while other people don't. Historically, the way we've handled spam on the internet is through centralized means. The most notable being Google with Gmail. Gmail has a massive list of spam, and they just don't deliver it to you if it's on that spam list. Now, with the dawn of AI and deep fakes and fake news and automated bots, LLM powered bots, we've seen this become even worse in a social context on different social platforms. And they've also attempted to handle this in a centralized way, usually by trying to tie identification information to users and doing either light KYC or even heavier KYC to identify the user and then deem if they're a real person or not, and then add them to a spam list. Now, the problem with centralized spam mitigation is that you have a central point of failure run by humans that can be corrupted, that can be pressured, that can be malicious, and so you have a censorship risk there, but also you have manipulation risk, and you have just a lack of efficiency. It's not very effective. Spam still gets through. So now that we have Nostr and we have this cryptographic identity protocol and social graph protocol, we can do things in a more scalable, trust minimized way, and that's where webs of trust come in. How did that go? Did I nail it?
Yeah. I would say that spam prevention and the battle against spam is perhaps the biggest use case for the web of trust. Not the only one, because, for example, there are like recommendations that you can solve in a very similar way, like giving personalized recommendation to users or offering a search. So there are multiple use cases for the web of trust, but for sure the biggest one is fighting spam, which, as you said, yes, it's a problem of essentially the fact that users can abuse certain systems, and so it's a matter of trying to use smart heuristics so that you can defend yourself, you can defend your attention, your database, if you're storing stuff that you don't want actually to store. And yeah, Web of Trust provides a very powerful heuristic. And if you want, I can
Yeah.
more about like how powerful and how it can be used more practically.
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, we have Fran Zapp in the live chat. Zap 10,000 sats. Thank you for your support. And he also said that your mic is a bit loud, but I lowered it. So hopefully it's better now. I lowered it on my side. Let me
Okay.
know, guys, if you think he should maybe move it a little bit away from your face. Pip just got a new mic just for the show, so shout out Pip. Fran Zapp, by the way, is the creator of Zap Store, which is a Nostr-powered app store for Android that is leveraging Web of Trust. Is he using Vertex?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, exactly. He is using Vertex. Actually, he is still, I would say, the co-founder of Vertex. Like we started this project together in Riga last year, and then
Awesome.
we launched in February, and in I believe April or May, he decided to step down and focus more on Zapstore. But yeah, his help was super useful in the beginning for sure.
So let's talk. I mean, you said you wanted to talk about more practical uses of it in the real world. Why don't we start there? Like, how is Web of Trust useful and Vertex specifically useful in an app store environment?
Yeah. So in the App Store, in App Store specifically, the feature is that when you click install on a new app that you haven't downloaded yet, it asks you a question. The question is, do you trust the signer of the application? So the thing is, someone, a developer, most likely has signed this application, and so meaning that he built it. And so, do you trust? If you are not going to read the code, do you trust the signer, the developer behind it? Now, if you were to display an npub, that would be very inconvenient because you would have to take that npub, copy paste it somewhere else, and look at his profile. What Vertex does inside Zapstore is that it provides a very summarized but important piece of information, like who are the top followers of this account. And so, for example, if I click on, let's say, Albi, and I see that it's signed by Albi, I see that Odell, myself, Fran Zapp, they all follow Albi. So this Albi is most likely the real one and not an impersonator that is trying to trick me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, go on.
And this service specifically, it's called Verify Reputation. Very simply, you provide an npub, you choose the algorithm that is used to find the top 5 or top whatever you want, and then and we return the list of pub keys with their associated say score or rank. They are already ordered, but you can use that score also in other ways.
So I guess first off, I think it's important to realize that with delivering software on the internet, this is the key problem that people have been trying to solve for a while, which is you want to make sure you're getting the real app. If you're not making sure you're getting the real app, you might get a fake app, and that app might be malicious. It might be just bad. It just might not be a good app, but it also could be malicious and trying to hurt you, trying to steal your money or compromise your account or something like that. And historically, the way that's been handled is once again through a centralized method, which is Apple is attesting to who's in their app store, and Google's attesting into who's in their app store, and they're making sure you're getting the right Signal app, for instance, or X app or Facebook app. They're the ones doing the reputational scoring and testing and confirming identities and making sure the app hasn't been changed. Now that obviously comes with the issue that they also choose if you want to be in, if you're allowed in the App Store in the first place. I had the white noise guys on yesterday, and right now it's not available on iOS because Apple hasn't approved them. They need Apple's approval to get into the App Store. So how can we solve that problem without having that centralized party there deciding if you have access or not? And that's what Vertex and Zapstore are trying to solve. Basically, anyone can upload, anyone can sign, and then you have this reputation scoring system so users can figure out which one's the real one. And that signing element is key because that's how you know it hasn't been changed by Zapstore, right? If Pavel Durov uploads Telegram to Zapstore, he wants to make sure that Fran can't change the file in between, right? Because that's also part of the threat model. So Pavel signs it, then the user can verify the signature, knows it hasn't been changed in the in between in the middle. Okay, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're developing, you have like an objective trust score or reputation score that is global. Like it doesn't matter who I am as a user downloading it, or is it user specific? Like if I go to Zap Store and go to download something, am I seeing a user specific view that if you go onto Zap Store, you see something different, or is this more of a global type of reputation score?
You can provide, you can specify in the request the algorithm you want to use, and we have three algorithms at the moment. One is you rank by followers count, which is the most like the cheapest, the fastest, but the less precise. Then we have page rank. This is, let's say, a global view, as global as it can be. We try to hit all of the relays and do the analysis that way. But of course, there is no guarantee we get every single MPAP that exists. And then there is the personalized page rank, which is still based on the same algorithm, but it is personalized to a parameter source that you provide. So in the most common way, you would be, when you click on Zapstore, if Zapstore had this feature implemented, this particular type of call, then yes, the top 5 you would see in that particular, for that particular application would be personalized to you. And so most likely you will see, if you follow that person, you will see yourself as the first one, as the top one, and then you would see most likely your follows that also follow the signer of the application. And if there are no follows, then you would see the people at 2 hops or 3 hops away from you that follow the app. It's more complex to say it out loud than to like draw it, or this actually is not that
Fair enough.
complex.
So we have the App Store model. And you also have this all listed on vertexlab.io with the different trade-offs, and you have a nice little chart on the 3 different algorithms you provide. So to go down this line of practical uses of something like Vertex, we have the App Store method. What the App Store use case, what other use cases do you see being a good fit for this kind of Web of Trust algorithm?
I would say the most used service at the moment is rank profiles, which is used by asknostr.site, which is like a website where you can see a bunch of questions that people make on Nostr. And they use it to basically, whenever someone posts a new Ask Nostr or an event that mentions one of the hashtag they index, whenever it's a new key, they ask Vertex the rank, and if the rank is too low, they simply hide the question or the answer, unless they have been active on Nostr site. Like, you can override this reputational score if you have more local information about your app and what the user is doing inside the application. But if you don't have that information, you can use that rank, and they have been using it, and they said they are happy because it removed like 99% of the spam or so of people that were trying to game the hashtag Ask Nostr to get zaps or those kind of things.
Yeah, so they're using it for spam mitigation.
Yeah, spam mitigation, and that service in particular is a batched solution, so you can get a rank of 1,000 pub keys up to 1,000 pub keys, and in a single request you will receive. So that is more useful for like relays or application that have a database and they want to store this information for later use. And then we have search. So for example, if you go on mpub.word, which is a client that Fran and I built, you basically see a big fat search bar, and when you search like Jack, you will see the Jacks, like Jack Dorsey, Jack Mallers, Jack Spirko, and all other Jacks ranked in a way that kind of makes sense. This uses global, but it could also, in the future, I could also add a login, and when you're logged in, you use your personalized view to rank people. Search results.
It's a very clean search engine.
Thank you. And when you click on a profile, what you see is actually the result of verified reputation. So you see follows count, followers count, the top 5 that follow that mpub, and then a bunch of buttons like open this in your favorite client.
Wow, there's a lot of people that follow one of these fake Odells.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the limitation of Vertex, which I am completely open to discuss, is that you cannot escape curation in any way, meaning you either do direct curation or you do algorithmic curation like we do. And if people start following someone that is a bot, or maybe an impersonator, yeah, both are fine, but impersonators are not, then clearly we want that to have the score as low as possible. But yeah, if some people follow it, then it will show up in search results.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly has a much lower score than the real Odell, but it still shows up in the search results. And you don't make the actual rank number public, right?
Yeah, this was someone actually made a PR to add and show the ranking publicly. I am not particularly inclined to do that because it sounds strange. It feels strange to put a number on people. Like this number can be used in the background to rank and sort in a way that makes sense. But for example, I am always it's kind of creepy when I look at like Coracle and see, I look at my own score from my perspective and it's lower than your score from my perspective. It's kind of strange. It creates strange dynamics, I would say.
Well, it's like a popularity leaderboard, right?
Yeah, kind of, yes. To mitigate the impersonator problem, I have in mind to also analyze mutes and report. And that way your score, Odell, would probably will still be number 1 and will not change, but hopefully the second Odell, the impersonator, its score would decrease because many people have muted it or reported.
So I'm on Coracle right now. And so he shows a Web of Trust score on my account. Is he using Vertex or is he using something else?
No, he is using his own implementation, which is, to my understanding, is something like number of follows that follow you, like the target, minus the number of mutes. It is something like that. The issue with that is with that formula or like type of formula, maybe I got it slightly wrong, is that each follows counts the same, which is not true because some people follow 10,000 others and some people follow 30. So that should be counted in some way. And then it's follows and mutes. They do count it, like if you get muted by many, you get a negative score, which, yeah, it can be, well, this actually is not a problem. No, mostly it's less precise because it doesn't differentiate between different follows. Like a follow counts 1, a mute counts -1.
Right. You want to actually rank the people that are also then ranking, right? It's like it should compound on top of each other.
Yeah, and also it's limited in reach because it can only go 2 hops. Like you have information about the one you follow and the one they follow, or muted. And this is, you don't have information outside this bubble. And how big is this bubble? Most likely it is about 50,000 MPubs, maybe more for people like you, Odell, that follow thousands and thousands of people. But yeah, in the future, this is not going to scale much. In fact, 2 hops, you'll probably still remain about 100,000 MPubs, even though maybe millions and millions use Nostr. And so you would have a very limited view of what's happening and who's reputable and who's not. And outside of that, you would have no information.
And particularly new users, you would have trouble seeing their stuff.
Yeah, true. It requires, yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Nostr with a U, Nostur by Fabian or Fabian. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, he uses his own local web of trust filter. And to your answer to those issues, first of all, he has like a number you can choose with how many followers you disregard people. So I have it currently set up that if someone follows more than 2,000 people, then I don't include them. They're not included in my web of trust. And so just for some context for the listeners, I follow 1,854 people. So I follow 1,854 people. And then my 2 hops, as Pip was saying, comes out to about 46,000 people. Just to give people a lot of, so anyone out of those 46,000, anyone besides those 46,000 people, I don't see their content if I use Nostr, which obviously has its pros and cons. The con being discovery.
Yeah. Spam and discovery are always they are always against each other. Like if you try to optimize for discovery, you probably include more spam. If you want to be super against spam, then you find yourself that you don't have basically content on your feed because you just blocked everyone else. Client-side solution in general, they can work for sure. The problem is that, at least from what I know about, is that they are quite complex to implement. They require a lot of work on the client, which can be problematic if you use a smartphone, if you have poor internet connection. Like you have to download all of these kind frees, and downloading them can take many minutes. And then because it is so expensive to do, then these things are cached. So I assume there is some cache that happens, which means that it might happen that you are using all the data, maybe in case of someone gets hacked, like imagine Jack Dorsey is hacked, and then you still see him as reputable, even though he was hacked. And this might be problematic because like he messaged you and he asked you for 1 Bitcoin and I'll give you back 2. And then you check and, oh yes, he is the real Jack because he was hacked, Yeah. So instead, Vertex, we take all of that work on our side, so you don't have to do much. You just have to ask the relay, and we give you the result, and all the results are computed in real time. So when you make the request, then we compute the thing. We don't do any caching of any sort. Everything is basically pre-computed and keep updated whenever someone publish a new follow list. We get it, we update our internal metrics, and then when you query, you always get the most fresh data possible.
Makes sense. So first of all, I see Stacks in the live chat. He was asking what the domain was for that search engine. That is npub.world is
Yes,
the
world.
domain. I see
A
Frank
world.
answered him in the live chat, but I just wanted to put it out there because if he didn't understand it on audio, then no one that listens to the podcast feed would understand either. And the overwhelming majority of listeners on the show is the podcast feed audio only. Okay, so to pull on that thought, so something like Nostr is using a local client-side web of trust. I also assume that's adding additional compute and would hurt your battery life more, just like checking signatures and everything else. It's just trade-offs all the way down. But so with you guys, how is a developer integrating it? I see a mention of DVMs on the website. Like, how does that look from the developer perspective in terms of integration? And then how does it look from both the user and the developer perspective in terms of trust in Vertex?
Yes. So from the point of view of the developer, I am very proud because I think the experience is really good, because all of this complexity on algorithm and downloading data and analyzing it and verifying and so on, all of that is abstracted away, and what you do is simply sign an event that is a request. So the request is a Nostr event, and it contains inside the parameters, like I want to use this algorithm, I want to use this other parameter, and so on. You send it to our relay, and then you fetch the response. And that's it. The services are, the DVM services are already structured in a way that kind of covers the most popular use cases, like you want to verify the reputation of an MPAB, like you are on the profile, and so that is like the place, in my opinion, to use it. Then you want, maybe you have a database, you want to have a bunch of information for later use, then means you are going to use rank profiles. Then let's say you have a premium user and you want to give him recommendations, or maybe a regular user, you want to say, you should also follow these other people. You can use recommend follows. That is going to use the algorithm to come up with this recommendation. And then search. If you want to have a nice search bar on your client, you can just add it, and in the background that search just ask our relay and then shows the result. Now, in terms of trust, it is a centralized service, so it's fully trusted at the moment. It's the only guarantee is that responses are signed, so there cannot be a man in the middle that tries to impersonate Vertex. That would be kind of funny that someone impersonate the anti-impersonator.
Fair enough.
And actually, the next step in order to minimize this trust is to implement something I have in mind, which is a client-side validation schemes. Meaning you get, let's say we are talking about verified reputation. So you get the top 5 followers of Odell, and you want to know, because you want to know if this Odell is the real one or an impersonator. Now, what you can do client-side, once you have this top 5, is to find your follow list and then their follow list. And then you can verify that all of them follow this Odell. So you cannot prove that these are the top 5 out of 46,000 people, but you can prove that those 5 actually follow Odell. So you prevent, in this case, client-side verification prevents the worst case scenario where Vertex just lies and said, yes, all of these reputable people follow this fake ODL when in fact they don't. And also for trust, it's important to note that because it's built on DVMs, it means that other competitors can come in, and then hopefully there will be some competition that keeps everyone in check. But at the moment, it's only.
So you could presumably, in that situation, you can hit two providers and compare the results locally or something.
Yeah, for example, or choose the provider you trust more. Yeah, that is a possibility.
But you could use one to audit the other. Would be an interesting trust model. I mean, right now, you stand in a situation where you could presumably censor someone if you wanted to, right? I'm not accusing you of that. I don't think you are.
Yeah, I could.
Got it.
Just to be clear, yes, I could. It's a trusted service. Just like, I would say, similar to the primal caching service model.
100%.
Some other can run it, but yeah, potentially primal could. And
presumably, like the biggest trust with the primal model is similar to this, which is in practice, which is that primal could choose not to show you something and you wouldn't know primal was choosing not to show you something. Because everything's signed, you can verify that there isn't a man in the middle happening, that the data hasn't been modified, but you don't know if you haven't seen the data in the first place.
Yeah. There could be data withholding, I think it says. That is also the case with relays in general. Like you don't know if they are deleting events of people they don't like.
Same trust model in that regard too. Like the Damus relay could just drop notes and you just wouldn't know. But they can't modify notes because you can check the signatures.
Yeah, exactly. And also because every response we make is signed, and that event you can store it, and so you can that can be proof that we misbehaved in the past, and that would fuck us, like
then you'd be over.
Reputation. Yeah, one event
use you again.
Exactly. Yeah. And this doesn't happen with normal APIs because they are not signed, at least not normally. And so
you wouldn't have proof. You wouldn't have proof.
Exactly. You would not have proof, and it would be my word against your word, and we would not be able to decide. But instead, in this case, because we use DVMs, then yes, if we misbehave, then everyone would see that.
So you have the dev pricing here. Get 10,000 free credits as the trial. And then it looks like the cheapest scale one is half a cent a credit. What is it like? What does that actually relate in actual cost? Like if Vitter was to add this to Amethyst, in practice, how does that look cost-wise for him?
It really depends on what you use. And for example, if let's make the example of Primal instead of Amethyst, which is easier. So Primal has a database,
right?
And they probably have many millions of MPubs and many millions of nodes, and they are wasting most likely some resources in storing nodes that are just spam. And what they could do is that every day or every week, they connect to Vertex, and then for each MPub of their database, they ask the rank. They store this rank for later use, like to power search, for example. And then if the rank is too low, then they can simply delete these events because they say, oh, people are not interested in this event. This is my relay. This is my storage. I prefer to use it in a more efficient way, so I delete these things. So the use I'm referring to is using rank profiles. And so for each 1,000 pub keys, it costs less than 1 cent. And so if you have 1 million keys, that would cost you $9. With $9, you take your database and you clean it up. Maybe you do it.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, maybe I'm underselling.
Yeah. Well, it's good to you start low. You can always increase the price later.
It's not the opposite. You should start with a
No, I
high
don't
price
think.
and then
I
decrease it
don't.
later.
I don't think so. I mean, it depends what you're selling. But if you're selling, this is like probably mostly B2B stuff, right? So it's like a developer focused thing. And so you just want the install base and you want the feedback first. And then you can increase price. That's why I assume is why you have a free tier, right? Is because you want someone to actually, you want a developer to actually play around with it and see how it works for his use case before
Yeah,
you don't want the payment to be a friction point. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think you could, at the end of the day, for most good products, you can lower or increase the price in the future and users will be fine with it. I think people overstate that a little bit and overthink it on like what their original price is.
I definitely overthought my pricing
Well, there you go.
for
Too bad we
sure.
didn't talk first. So I don't know where I want to. So first of all, I'm curious. Just out of the, do you have a God mode of that lists like the most popular accounts on Nostr?
Mm,
Do you have like an Excel document? Do you have a spreadsheet that just shows who's the most popular?
no, but you are asking because you want to know if you are number one.
No, I mean, I assume Dorsey's number one. I'm just curious.
No,
I'm
no,
curious who
actually,
the top 10 are.
I don't know now, but I remember when I was like testing and looking at the ranks, global ranks, not personalized. Damos, I think, is number one, and then
People
Jack
follow.
Dorsey. Yeah, because everyone follows Damos, basically, I think.
If you install Damus, I think it automatically follows the Damus account.
Ah, there's a trick. No, I'm joking. I think Damus, Jack, and then probably you. Maybe you are number three.
Interesting.
Don't mean to hurt your ego. I'm
I'll say humble enough. I think
humble enough.
it's just kind of interesting to me. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's a decent amount of surprises in the top 50, particularly since Nostr is global, non-English language. Like I wonder who is the most popular Japanese language person. I would have no idea. I don't even know who that is. I can't read their language.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know because I don't have this feature yet.
Yeah. GG top 10. I think so. Probably he's the GOAT.
Yeah, yeah. 4, 5. MVK also in the top. Lin, Jack Mallers, Jeff Booth. Always, yeah, always the same very popular.
I mean, that's the funny thing, right? Is like, so with Primal, we have this optional trending algorithm, and there's all these conspiracies about the trending algorithm, about like who's on the top of trending. And meanwhile, like it is the most transparent algorithm in the world in terms of social trending stuff. Like it's open source. You can see the exact weightings. You can see exactly how it works or not. And why does it exist in the first place? Like a lot of Nostr people are anti-algorithm, but the reason it exists is because actually most people like algorithms and they find them useful. They need to be transparent and not predatory. But it opens up an interesting question, and it's optional. And it opens up an interesting question where if like maybe the algorithms people want, and the cool part about Nostr is they can choose, is maybe the algorithms people want aren't actually like what are the most popular notes. They want to see stuff underneath that. And that's why like with the primal trending, like it's not a conspiracy. It's just if more people follow someone, it's more likely that it's going to have the popularity rate, like rankings on individual posts.
Yeah. Yes, that also is a, let's say, lack of variety is
Yeah.
also because the algorithm is global, and so you find always
Right.
the top global people. That could be made, let's say, relative to the user, or in another word, personalized. That's also that is more like aligned, I would say, to the Nostr spirit, but practically speaking, it's definitely more computations, more costly also to do. That's also why that algorithm in particular, personalized PageRank, is more costly than global PageRank, because this simply is more computation for us.
Yeah, it's much more difficult to implement. I do like the personalized stuff, and I think Nostr's uniquely well positioned for it. I see Diana's comment in YouTube, and maybe it was a little confusing for other people if she's confused as well. With Primal, she's asking me about the Primal trust model. With Primal, what we do is we have a caching server, while most other apps, Nostr apps, connect directly to relays. And so you can think of a caching server kind of like a super relay that we run, and it tries to collect all the notes that we see, just every note that we see. And we do that for performance reasons, but we also do that for privacy reasons. And that's because when you're reading notes on Nostr, or even reading profile pictures, which the caching server is also taking, caching server takes all the media and everything. When you're reading that on a normal Nostr app, you're actually hitting a bunch of other web servers. You're hitting like any web server that's hosting media, any web server that's hosting notes, anything on Nostr. And so with us, you're just hitting our caching server. So you're only exposing your IP address and your using your usage to the operator of the caching server. Now that adds a trust element in terms of censorship, where we can, if we were operating maliciously, we could remove things from your feed that you would never see in the first place. We can't modify your feed. We can just remove things and never show them to you in the first place. And as Pip said earlier, that's a similar trust model as a regular relay, where a regular relay could remove things. Now, the advantage you have with a normal Nostr app or a typical Nostr app is you might connect to multiple relays, so they all would have to, be dropping notes for you to miss them. The mitigation we have for that is the caching server is open source, and in the UI itself, you can go and you can switch it to one you run or one someone else runs. As Pip said with his project, the ideal situation is we're hoping multiple entities are running caching servers, and you can just easily flip between them. Mutiny used to before they left Nostr. But yeah, anyway, that was long-winded on the Primal trust model. I see Fran saying Primal should integrate Vertex. I mean, that's interesting to me. I mean, I think we're also we could do stuff in-house. I guess is the Vertex stack itself is open source?
Yeah, of course, all open source. In fact, I am. Maybe I should have mentioned earlier, but I am an OpenSats grantee.
Oh, awesome! I think I knew that.
Yeah, all open source, and you can basically take it and run it yourself if you want. It's not as plug and play, I would say. Not only because you have to provide hosting and in the infrastructure to run it, but because it requires some, let's say, ad hoc choose of certain parameters, and it's more like an art than a science to do the initialization, because when you are initializing, right, and you crawl the network from a certain point, we choose like fiatjaf and pub, simply because if you use Nostr, somehow you trust fiatjaf a little bit, at least implicitly.
Yeah.
And then we go from there and we crawl his follow list, so the graph expands with these people, and then recursively it starts to, when someone reach a very high rank, then it gets promoted, and when you get promoted, we fetch your follow list and we add new people in. And this is a recursive initialization that it's not plug and play just to redo it, but yes, if you want, you can do it. You can run your own Vertex, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we also we did like the early stages of like just an open DVM feeds opt-in on Primal. So like you could use the Primal app and you can subscribe to a DVM feed that's like trending powered by Vertex or something, or personalized trending, or so like, look, at the end of the day, I just want to put it out there, like the goal with Primal is for you to control your experience. Like we don't want to tell you what you should be reading and what you shouldn't be reading. Like the goal is for the user to have full control over their experience. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done everywhere, despite the conspiracy theories. But yeah. Do you broadcast any DVM feeds right now?
No DVM feeds. No, we only have the 4 services that I mentioned. That the let's say positioning I see for Vertex is more, as you said, B2B, because it is true that now we have micropayments, which you can potentially use to pay for one single search. The thing is that I think it creates a strange user experience, even for seasoned Bitcoiners. Like you download a new app, you need to top up the wallet so you can search. It sounds counterintuitive, and it makes you think about things that should be like automatic. You shouldn't think, is this search worth 90 sats? Like, I don't know. I should not think about all of those steps while I'm using the application. So,
right.
And for example, with Primal, I think it could be like, the way I see it now is that the search, the ranking is using a followers count, which is which Vertex also provides, but is like the worst algorithm you can choose, basically, because it's not really Sybil resistant. And in the past, I've showed like how the search in mpap.world compares to the search in Primal. For example, there was a Nostr band that had more than 100,000 followers, but 99% of that is fake or something like that.
It's just like bots, right? People spinning up npubs and following to break the basic analysis, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually a quite hard problem to solve, because you use follows to figure out who's reputable, but also you need to know when to discard some follows. And that's why I mentioned earlier the recursive discovery of the network that we do, and we only fetch events from people that have been promoted, that have acquired reputation from other people.
So we have impersonation detection, we have better feeds, we have app discovery and verifiability, and we have search. Are there any other use cases that you think are low-hanging fruit for something like Vertex?
I think the most flexible is rank profiles, where you can rank a bunch of mpubs, because that can be used in so many ways inside your application. Like, I make a very interesting example. Let's say Fountain. Fountain gives out sats reward. I'm sure there are bots that try to game it. But what you could do is say, okay, I only give sats rewards to people that do Nostr login. So also it's a way to incentivize people to use Nostr, so they can get the rewards on Fountain, for example. And then after they log in, they can only get the rewards if their rank is higher than a certain threshold. A threshold low enough that it doesn't do many false positives, so it doesn't discriminate real users, but it removes almost 99% of the mpubs that would do this game, basically, would spin a new mpub, listen to a few podcasts, and then do it again to get a few sats. This is also an interesting possibility. Just to give some context, like Nostr band shows 42, 43 million MPubs. This is what they have in the relay. They see all of these MPubs. In Vertex, we have 350,000 reputable MPubs only, so it's less than 1%. So 99% of the MPubs on Nostr at the moment, according to our analysis, are spammers. And I think this ratio is going to increase in the future as real money and profits come into Nostr. Then the opportunity and to spam is going to be used, basically. Like yes. A lot of people spam. Most of the content would be AI slop, and so figuring out what's real and what to store and what not to store and what to show to users is going to be really important.
Does is that data public anywhere?
The number of
the reputable users versus total pub keys seen?
Well, the Nostr band has a stats page, and there you can see.
But
and
there's a closed source. Do you have your own?
No, for my own, like in every response, it is written this number of how many. It's called the nodes. How many nodes we have in the database, and that is useful if you want to create. We add it to every response because you can use that data for coming up with a threshold. Like this threshold depends on how many people there are in the graph. Basically, that's why we included it. And I checked this morning, and it's 350.
Got it.
350,000.
But that's not necessarily actives, right?
No, exactly. No, it's only reputable. Like, for example, I make like Michael Saylor or Adam Beck. I think they
like Balaji came and made one post and then left, and he counts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those do count in that 350 because they are followed by many. But yeah, I would say active, and this is all like an estimate, but I think active would be half of that number. So 170, 150,000 real users of Nostr seems accurate.
Got it. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I do think there's something to be said about when we're talking publicly about it being a little bit less conservative about the real number or the exact number. I mean, it's always an estimate, but like I'm pretty sure Blue Sky, whatever stat page that people use that no one can actually independently verify, is the numbers are like incredibly inflated. And then who the hell knows like how many users there are of X or Telegram or something like that's just a complete trust me, bro. And sometimes I think it's good that we hold ourselves to a higher standard, but maybe we hold ourselves a little bit too high of a standard because people then try and compare them apples to apples, and it's not apples to apples. Like I mean, I've seen there's situations where Callie, for instance, hasn't deleted his X account, and he posts to X, and he gets way more engagement on his Nostr notes, like real engagement, like people replying to him and asking questions and engaging with him than he does on X. But X supposedly has 650 million users, and we have like 100,000, and so the numbers just don't add up. It just you're like, what's going on there? So it's just something to keep in mind, people. Fran, I see your comment about signatures and the problem of caching service. The problem of caching service leaves signatures intact. Signatures are delivered to the end user. The primal apps right now, I believe, are not actually verifying signatures yet. They will in the future. We just need the app to get more performant. It's been a struggle to just get it stable as it is, and a lot of other Nostr apps also aren't verifying signatures. I like how Nostr does it. Once again, to give them a shout out, where he there's basically an option. There's an option in settings whether or not you want to do signature verification or not. And the reason is because primarily is a performance issue and also kills battery life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the goal. But yeah, you can actually, one of the features I'm actually really proud of with Primal is you can go to a note, and if you just press the three little dots, you can press copy raw data, and that's the full raw data. You have with signature in there, everything. You can just easily save that, export that, verify that. It was an important thing to have in the little drop-down button. Yeah, go on. You're going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that like the cost of signature verification definitely is something real. It's something like that hurt the performance and the battery of clients, mostly on smartphone, low power devices. That's also why I'm kind of bullish on this idea that I mentioned of client-side verification, that you can have almost the best of both worlds. It's a trade-off straight in the middle, where you can delegate all of this work to, in this case, the Vertex server, but check that at least the server is not lying, for example, in a way that would be bad, like saying that an impersonator is the real one. This is the worst case scenario, and then with this sort of client-side verification, you would be able to avoid the worst case scenario. So it's trade-off, I think, in the middle. And I believe in general Nostr apps should or could explore this area, because many go straight into, okay, let's do everything client-side, and then you find that your app is barely working because it takes forever to load anything.
Yeah.
Or maybe so situation in the middle, like yes, Primal, where there is a caching server there, where you obviously compromise a little bit on trust, but you get a lot more performance, a lot better user experience.
Yeah, I mean, the cool part about Nostr is that you can use it in any way you want, and it'd be nice to see more experimentation. There's a lot of experimentation, but in general, I lean to more experimentation and more different trade-off models being experimented with than less, particularly at this point in Nostr adoption. Like, let's test out all the things, play with them, iterate from there. I don't think there's a best Nostr app. I think the Nostr app that's most useful for someone depends on their technical competence, their use case, and their threat model. And that's the beauty of Nostr. The beauty of Nostr is that ultimately the user has agency and they can use it how they want to. And more of that. What else was I going to say? I guess this also, just in general for relay operators, your service could be very useful in terms of what notes I keep. A lot of people talk about like paid relays versus free relays, but maybe the middle ground is like a Vertex spam mitigated relay, right?
Yeah. I actually wrote a blog post on where I, let's say, explained this algorithm I designed for open relays. So relays that do not do any spam filtering at the moment, like the big ones, Damos, Primal, Nostr Band. They are going to be flooded by spam one way or another. Yeah, exactly. But it's going to get 100 times worse for sure, because if there is an incentive to spam, people will just spam. So what you can do there is you can use you can apply a rate limit, and this rate limit is smart. It depends on who is the user, who is the author of the event. Like, because as a relay operator, you want to optimize, you have an optimization problem. You want more of the nodes people like and less of the nodes people don't like. You can use as a heuristic the reputation of the author of the event. Like, if a bunch of people follow Odell, is most likely because Odell writes interesting stuff. And so you can say, okay, you have rate limit, but you have bigger rate limits. If you are Mr. No One, then you have very small rate limit, and then you cannot write anymore. So you can have like a 1 event per minute, and if you are Odell, then you have 100 or 1,000 events per minute. You have reputation-based rate limit, and then the final piece of the blog is, because these ranks in the paper are provided by Vertex. So how can you avoid a spammer making you waste a bunch of money on Vertex? Let's say, like I create 1 billion keys, all these 1 billion keys writes to your relay, so you make a bunch of call to Vertex, and then I would be happy, but you probably would not be super happy. What you can do there is you can use IP rate limiting for how many times a new unpub can call the Vertex relay, basically. So the rate limited per event is based on the reputation, and how many new unpub can you make me pay for the rank, that is based on the IP. And with this scheme, with this two-step approach, I think you can get pretty good. I made let's say a cost analysis, and it's way cheaper to use for the defender that pays Vertex than it is for the attacker that buys IP addresses.
Right.
It's a matter of cost, but the defender is highly favored in this case.
What about, first of all, I think that's really clever. It's a nice trade-off balance. Particularly like reputation-based rate limiting is really interesting because it solves that issue that people have with Web of Trust, the core issue, which is like, what about new users that don't have a reputation yet? It's like, okay, well, they'll just be softly rate limited on a public relay until they build up a reputation, so they can still get stuff out. They just can't spam easily. What about people that I'm just laughing at the live chat. They're like OnlyFans it up. What about like the false positives of people using shared IPs? I mean, I think a general good practice on the internet, and especially when you're using Nostr, is to use a hosted VPN, a shared VPN that like a Proton or a Molvad or an Obscura that has a bunch of users that are all using the same IP address. And that's actually a feature, not a bug, because yes, you can self-host your own VPN and then you don't have to trust anyone, but that means you have a fixed IP address. So I actually like hosted VPNs from reputable providers because it means I have a shared IP with a bunch of other people. What about that situation? Because wouldn't you just get a bunch of people coming out of the popular VPNs and then you'd end up is it like MPub plus IP? Is it like a combination?
It's no, it's okay. The two steps are in this way. A new event comes in. If I have the rank of the author, then I apply NPub based rate limiting. Reputation based rate limiting. If I don't have the rank of the author, because maybe it's a new NPub, or maybe I haven't asked for this rank yet, then I put this pub key in a queue, and then this IP can only put 100, let's say, or a certain number of new pub keys that I've never seen in this queue before it gets rate limited. Rate limited in this case means that you cannot put new keys into this queue. Then how is this queue going to be used? You take 1,000 of these pub keys, a batch of those 1,000 keys, and then you ask Vertex for the ranks in one single call. And so you save some money because it's a batched request. And so if a lot of users come in from VPN and you have never heard of any of those, you would just rank a few of them and then it would slow down basically. And then after some time, depending on how you have configured this limit, they will be able to write basically to the relay. So yeah, it's not a perfect solution by any means, but there are no perfect solution for like free relays. It's you could use proof of work, but then you would have your smartphone trying to compete with an ASIC.
Yeah, proof of work doesn't work for
Or you
this.
have to pay, but then it's not a free relay anymore, and it creates a strange like you're a new user, you have to pay like first thing.
Yeah, we can't have new users paying first thing. We'll never get substantial user base if they have to pay in Bitcoin before they even get started.
Before they even get Bitcoin, which is
Yeah,
like
exactly. Okay, I like that. I think that's clever. It's a clever trade-off balance. Any other use cases you have on the top of your head? We've gone through a bunch already.
yeah. So we said search, recommendations, removing spam, protecting free relays, the front end one, let's say protecting from giving out money to bots that automate the process.
Yep.
Not I don't have more ideas. I think this kind of covers.
Those are a lot. You shouldn't feel pressure. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss some low-hanging fruit. What is your overall diagnosis or thoughts on the Nostr ecosystem right now? How do you? I know a lot of people are feeling burnout. There's a lot of bearish sentiment on Nostr recently. Do you think we're in a good place? Where do you think we need to improve?
I think we are in a good place. Like the fact that Nostr is not growing but it's not shrinking. Also, is I think we are in a plateau, and it means that like if you are in a plateau, it means that there is retention, and a lot of like from personal experience or more qualitatively, I think Nostr is much better already than X. The problem is always the network effect it is too small at the moment, but I think this will change. Exactly how new users are going to come in, like where the new waves will come from, I have no idea. I think there is a lot of potential in like communities thing, and I haven't seen a very convincing solution. Sorry to anyone who's working on it, but just my my honest opinion, I don't have an app that I can recommend to my friends that they can use as a replacement for like Telegram or their community for a specific topic. Like I don't have something that I can confidently recommend. I think there is a lot of opportunity, and also it's going to be also quite interesting because that I think would solve one of the biggest problem of Web of Trust, which is like the cold start. Like how can you use without using global algorithms, which can always use, but without that, how can you see content and get recommendation if you haven't even started following anyone?
Yeah.
And that I think can be, or how do you recognize a new user from a bot? How do you differentiate between the two? Because they look indistinguishable. One way would be, I think, communities, like some way to know that you have been invited in a closed and reputable community. Like the community exists before you enter Nostr, you join Nostr. It has a reputation because it's there since before, and then because you have been invited and you are like part of the public list of the community, then we can say, okay, then you must not be a bot, you're most likely a new user.
Because you're invited by someone that's reputable or something.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they don't get followed right away, but they get invited. So this means that there are like most likely existing relationship in Midspace or other places that also are created on Nostr, which gives, for example, Vertex, but also other solutions, more information to distinguish between new users and bots, or spammers, which is really hard problem.
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking about that at least like from an MVP level on Primal. In term, like one of the most bullish things I think in Bitcoin fundamentals is the meetup ecosystem. There's just meetups all over the world, and specifically like living through COVID, they told us we weren't allowed to go and meet with people, and at the same time, Bitcoin meetups grew, and they got bigger and bigger. And I saw this in Nashville firsthand, where we had like a meetup of meetup organizers from like all these tech meetups, and they all got destroyed during COVID. They tried to go remote. It didn't work. People stopped coming, like random ass tech meetups, not Bitcoin related. But our meetups kept growing, and we got to like 200 people or whatever per month in the last bull market, which was crazy. But my point is in that meetup community, I ended up befriending a lot of the organizers from other meetups. And one of the ideas that we had that was kind of low lift was giving the meetup organizers the ability to create like a primal invite link that automatically they curate which relays you choose, they curate who you follow at start, they follow back you at start, and kind of just automatically jump starts your experience from a hand-holding perspective. And I think that could be kind of powerful, but also very low lift. Like that would be an early implementation. Like I think we can do much more interesting things. And specifically, like I like what Hodlbod's trying with Flotilla. Like
Yeah.
Discord replacements, like seem like an obvious answer. Obviously, like white noise is kind of trying to do something there. I see Diana saying that Primal recommends to follow certain people at start. It's like it's trade-offs all the way down. First of all, we tried to refine it. So like first of all, it asks you interests before it gives you a follow list. And then the follow list is optional. It doesn't like default follow people. But you also have the opposite problem where like I've used Amethyst and onboarded people onto Amethyst, and they start off with an empty feed, which is where you're never going to get any new users if they start off with an empty feed. So, or we will get new users, but we'll get much less. Like only a Sith speaks in absolutes. So like we got to like play with different things and try different things, and nothing's perfect. But I do like the idea of communities. I'm rambling on, but Rabble of Nos Social, who was also one of the early employees with Jack at Twitter, he made an interesting example to me when we were hanging out one day, which is there's like a group on Facebook that is like 400,000 people, and all they do is post funny pictures of people riding horses and like funny videos of people riding horses. That's 400,000 people, and they have a funny horse community, and they have to deal with Facebook censorship because the PETA people. By the way, I don't think people should hurt animals. I think there's a special place in hell for people that do that for non-food reasons, like people that torture animals. But PETA is a terrorist organization. But besides that, they get a bunch of censorship because PETA like mass reports their content, and it's not the type of community that you think would get censorship. But anyway, there's 400,000 people that want to post funny pictures of people riding horses that if we had a community app might onboard to Nostr and automatically be in their own little web of trust and could kind of bootstrap things. That was my long-winded example.
Yeah, and as you said, like it's a shame that a lot of Bitcoin meetups, at least the one I am into, like they use Telegram, so which is completely non-private, unencrypted. Everything is clear text. It's like
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. You have a bunch of problems caused by impersonator, like all the time. People that DMs you, and even though it's a fully centralized thing, and you don't even get privacy.
And so they force you. They force you to do a phone number. So people know I deleted my X account. But at the same time I deleted my X account, I actually deleted my Telegram too. I'm a big deleter. I like deleting things. And it caused a lot of issues in the beginning because so much of the Bitcoin community runs through Telegram. And I probably lost touch with a bunch of people who only contacted me through XDMs and Telegram DMs. But the ride or dies figured out that they can message me on Signal, and I still communicate with them on Signal. But anyway, I taught a class for the Plan B school that's run out of Lugano by Giacomo and others, and their whole class is on Telegram. And so I signed up. I said I'll create a burner account on Telegram just because I love Q&A, right? Like I'm giving a presentation to 200 students. I want to read the freaking Q&A. So I created a burner Telegram account. I used a burner phone number. And the first phone number I couldn't use because it had already been registered to a Telegram account. So I had to get another burner account. And then as soon as I signed up, as fake name, burner email, burner phone number, as soon as I signed up, they blocked my account and I got just blocked out. So they have a huge bot problem, but also like if you want to actually use it, it creates all these issues if you want to try and use it in a relatively private way. Anyway, eventually they unblocked my account and then I deleted it again. But that's my long-winded Telegram. Fuck Telegram. We need to replace all these things. I think we'll get there. Another perfect example of Web of Trust would be for that kind of use case.
Yeah, that's also a nice one. Like, yes, you have a message application, and then you get 1 million requests of hey, hi there, or something like that. Like, you should find a way to filter out all of them except the 3 real ones, and this is where the reputation of the sender comes in for this initial starting of the conversation.
And it should be user configurable. Like I get a ton of inbound messages, and like it'd be cool if I could toggle different things for how I view my inbox, right? How I view who can message me and who cannot. And there's been attempts to do stuff like this that I think just fall flat and they just fail. Like one of them was like Balaji's old company. I forget what it was called, but like you had to pay to message. Like I don't want people to have to pay to send me a message. I think that's just automatically off the table. And then on Twitter now, like you have to, like you can set like blue checks only. Only people that have verified their identity can message you. Mm-hmm. Also, to me, off the table. There's a middle.
I think a very interesting idea that just came to mind is an in between. So you can set a threshold, and these thresholds should be quite high. If your reputation, from my point of view, is high enough, then you can message me for free, like all of your follows, and then a bunch of other people. Like you have a set of these 40,000 people that are connected to you some way. They can message you for free. Everyone else has to pay you for your attention, like pay me, and then you can configure how much.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then you use Bitcoin, so it doesn't require doxing yourself with a credit card or whatever.
Yeah, and your grandma would not have to pay to send you Merry Christmas.
Right, because she's my grandma. She's in my Web of Trust.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be alive. I got to respond to her messages.
Even though they are, I sometimes get some strange gifts.
I mean, on the grandma note, I have her. She's on Signal now. I have a 90-plus-year-old grandma that uses Signal because it's the only way she gets baby pictures. Great incentive. I see in the live chat, silent.link zapped 42,000 sats. Thank you, sir, for your support. He's a true ride or die. He runs a great service. I was talking about burner numbers earlier. You can buy an eSIM from him. Downloads directly to your phone. Don't have to give up any identifiable information. Just pay with Bitcoin. I use it all the time. It is amazing, amazing service. One of the most useful Bitcoin paid services. Pip, this has been great. I've been trying to ship more dispatches lately. There's a lot of noise out there and I'm trying to get the signal out. But one of the strategies I've come to appreciate that one of my listeners told me to do is, for a lot of people, do like repeat shows right? So like in 6 months or so, like I'd love to have you back on, see where Vertex is, see where Web of Trust is, and continue the dialogue. You down for that?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Do you have any final thoughts for the freaks before we wrap?
Yeah, I just read a comment from Franz up mentioning that Satlantis is doing some meetups on Nostr or will do. And yeah, it's I mention it because also Satlantis is using Vertex behind the scene,
Oh, awesome.
which I'm. No, apart from that, no, this
Are
was.
they actually doing Nostr events? I know at one point they weren't. It was like just Nostr logins.
I don't know. I'm sure they use. They use the events that I send them, meaning the responses. For other than that, I don't know. And they use it in a way that I mentioned, like removing from the database obvious spammers and bots.
Fair enough. Anyway, I cut you off. Final thoughts before we wrap.
Nothing. Like, you can learn more about Vertex on vertexlab.io or search on Nostr. And if your client has a good search, then you will find Vertex. And no, thank you. This has been a great conversation, and it's an honor to be here, honestly. Like, after a few years listening to the show, like, it's a bit surreal to be here and speaking. Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Odell.
It's a pleasure to have you. It was a fun rip. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to the next one. You have me on Signal, so if I can be helpful in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to provide all the links to Vertex. As you said, it's Vertex Labs, vertexlab.io, but I'll provide all the links in the show notes, including to Pip's Nostr account. Give him a follow. He's got to boost his Web of Trust score, because it'd be embarrassing if he's not ranked very high as the creator of the ranking. But he has great content. He has good content and good discussion there.
Now, if my rank remains low, it's proof that I'm not manipulating the ranks. Well, so don't follow me.
When the conspiracy, when I was doing my good morning videos, which were getting a lot of good morning engagement, I was always on the top of the Primal trending. And there was a joke internally at Primal that I was like, can you just like anchor me at number 4? Like, don't let me go above 4, because it's just feeding the conspiracy theories. But we never did that. We thought it was crossing a line. What else was I going to say? Post all the links in the show notes. Next dispatch is on Monday. So just like back to back dispatches right now. And that's going to be with Matt Alborg, longtime Bitcoiner. He now does ppq.ai. So a new AI focused service that lets you use all the different models, pay with Bitcoin, you pay on a per usage basis. Really cool service. So definitely join us for that. Did I say the time? The time is going to be 1930 UTC. If you can use Nostr, you can use UTC. So convert it to your own time zone. You'll figure it out. But all the links to Dispatch are at sealedispatch.com. Share the show with your friends and family. It goes a long way. It's very helpful. If for some reason you still use YouTube, even if you don't watch on YouTube, if you go press the subscribe button on YouTube, maybe it'll get me out of shadow ban hell until we can figure out how getting Nostr streaming to the next level. Anyway, I love you all. Pip, thank you for joining. Stay humble, stay sats. Peace.